Truth lies in propaganda. This is a Joe Swinson interview with the BBC and serves for the purposes of doing some fact-checking. Let's go.
Liberal Democrats are obviously clear about our belief that we're better off remaining in the European Union.
Well, this is true.
And there's also so much more that is in the vision for our future that we're outlining today in our manifesto launch. So just to take one example, a massive problem for many families is the unaffordable cost of childcare.
How Joe Swinson voted on welfare and benefits. Almost always voted for reducing housing benefit for social tenants. Consistently voted against paying higher benefits over long periods for those unable to work due to illness or disability. Almost always voted for a reduction in spending on welfare benefits. And this is the key one. Almost always voted against spending public money to create guaranteed jobs for young people who have spent a long time unemployed.
Liberal Democrats, we're saying free childcare, 35 hours a week, 48 weeks a year, and start that at the point at which people want to go back to work, when paid parental leave ends. There's currently a big gap from that 9 months to the age of a child turning 2 or 3. So just one example where Lib Dem plans would make people's lives better.
The truth is, voters have a lot of these big retail offers now. If I'm in the southwest, North Devon, 57% of the people voted leave. St Ives, 55 voted leave. Taunton Deane, 53 voted leave. All seats that were Lib Dem. Are you telling me that the people in the southwest who were so passionately in favour of Brexit 3 years ago are just going to go, yeah, never mind?
Look, I mean, there's obviously, it's an issue where many people do feel passionately on both sides of the debate, but it's not the only issue that people care about. And there's many people who are also interested in what's happening to their child's school or, the education system.
In this case, she voted for raising England's undergraduate tuition fees cap to £9,000 per year, consistently voted for ending financial support for some 16 to 19-year-olds in training and further education, consistently voted for university tuition fees.
Talking me through your giveaways, but you're curiously now positioning yourself more as the party of fiscal responsibility. Now, that might not be where voters are today. When we remember Nick Clegg was the one who, in his description, sort of took the knife out of Cameron's hand, and now you're the one putting it back again.
Yes, the party of fiscal responsibility. Almost always voted for reducing the rate of corporation tax. This is important, it's coming up.
Not at all. I mean, first of all, Liberal Democrats want to remain in the European Union, and that will mean that our economy grows faster.
That is propaganda. There is no factual evidence if the UK leaves the EU whether the economy will be better or whether the economy will be worse. Nobody knows this.
We have more money to invest in public services,
Okay, so she wants more money to invest in public services. Almost always voted against spending public money to create guaranteed jobs for young people who have spent a long time unemployed. We've already had that one. How Joe Swinson voted on transport, which is part of public services. Has never voted on greater public control of bus services. Consistently voted against slowing the rise of rail fares. Voted a mixture of for and against lower taxes on fuel for motor vehicles, almost always voted on higher taxes on plane tickets, has never voted on a publicly owned railway system.
Liberal Democrat plans can actually be more generous, but I'm not going to...
You're not on the basic rate of tax. You're the only main party putting up the basic rate of income tax.
I think it's also important that people are honest.
Okay, people should be honest, and so should politicians. Are you going to be honest? Are you going to answer the question?
I think it's also important that people are honest about how we will pay for the things that we want to do to make people's lives better. And we will say, yes, we want more money in the NHS.
Oh, really? Almost always voted against restricting the provision of services to private patients by the NHS. Generally voted for reforming the NHS so GPs buy services on behalf of their patients. Generally voted for smoking bans. That's a good one because she's coming up soon with how people should be allowed to smoke joints today.
I think that is so important that is worth putting a penny on the basic rate of income tax for.
We're seeing Labour, the Greens, obviously the SNP.
Hang on a minute, that's propaganda. You're not going to be putting a penny on income tax.
About free tuition fees now. Labour appears to be about to cancel student debt.
Oh yes, and we are getting back to the how Joe Swinson voted on education. Greater autonomy for schools, undergraduate tuition fee cap. She voted for ending financial support and voted for university tuition fees.
Now, you were ahead of the curve on this one. Can you see a way that the Lib Dems can offer free tuition fees again?
It's not in our manifesto this time. As I said,
So before she was against, now they're ignoring it.
It can't ever be, can it?
No, we said we want to be clear about how we will pay for the things that we offer.
Go on then.
And if we've got money to spend, the priorities that we have identified, what we did in government, the pupil premium, putting more money in to help the poorest pupils at an early age.
It's about toxicity. You literally can't mention tuition fees anymore, can you?
It is about priorities, because if you really want to help, particularly young people from the poorest backgrounds, the evidence shows that the best way to do that is to get that support in early.
Consistently voted for ending financial support for some 16 to 19-year-olds in training and further education. And also voted for raising England's undergraduate tuition fee cap to £9,000 per year. So before she wanted to make everything more expensive, and now, well...
The extra money in for those poorest pupils from the early age are expansion of early years education to help those young people get that start in life. That is the best way to improve those opportunities, because
so she's changed her mind completely on this one.
Otherwise we leave children behind, and that is not acceptable.
Well, it was acceptable for you a year ago.
You've said there's no chance of you helping a Tory government. You do not want to be enabling Brexit. Now, many assume that means you would support a Labour government of sorts, but I haven't heard you say that. Can you say that?
Don't hold your breath.
Look, the Labour Party is led by Jeremy Corbyn.
I'm not talking about Corbyn.
No,
You're talking about the Labour Party itself.
Well, hang on a second, because some people would like to have a different type of Labour Party, but the Labour Party is led by Jeremy Corbyn. Some of their MPs tried to get rid of him and failed, and this is a man who wants Brexit to happen, but more than that...
That's propaganda. Nobody knows if Corbyn wants Brexit to happen, and we're about 3 or 4 weeks before the general elections. He still hasn't outed on that one.
Who has entirely let down a whole section of our community.
So tell me that's your red line. Tell me your red line is get rid of Jeremy Corbyn and I will work with you in some kind of government. Can you say that to me here?
Well...
Don't hold your breath.
Talking about a hypothetical, and I think some people
Everything's
assume,
a hypothetical.
Yes, indeed, but some people assume that if Jeremy Corbyn wasn't there, that the Labour Party would be markedly different, and I don't think that's a safe assumption to make. So I don't know what the hypotheticals will be, but I don't think that is an assumption that we can make. Not least because I have spoken to many people in the Labour Party.
Okay, how many? Proof?
Who have looked at, for example, the inability of Corbyn and those round him to tackle anti-Semitism, and they've failed.
I understand why you're concerned about Jeremy Corbyn. What I don't understand is what you are prepared to allow or to vote down. You would presumably vote down the Queen's speech from a Conservative government.
Liberal Democrat votes are not going to be supporting Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn, and that is the reality of
Labour or Conservative. Get rid of the characters. We know you don't like the characters.
But you can't
You tell me a world in which you could support Labour. Are there people in charge of Labour that would help you support the party?
So at the moment, it is not easy to envisage. We have two parties that have so vacated reason and any kind of, support for the future. They're both stuck in the past.
It's 4 weeks before the elections. You should be able to envisage at least something and answer at least one question with a straightforward answer.
Not unusual to see legalisation of cannabis in a Lib Dem manifesto.
Uh-oh, this is going to be a car crash. How Jo Swinson voted on social issues. Generally voted for smoking bans. Well, maybe she doesn't know, but cannabis is usually smoked.
I wonder if that's something you feel passionate about.
I think it is. I mean, it's about time that we had a sensible approach to drugs policy. There's police time that gets used.
Hang on, we're talking about cannabis. We're talking about joint smoking. We're not talking about cocaine or heroin.
Criminalising young people who are doing something which, a big chunk of the population, of the adult population, admits to having done.
A big chunk of the adult population have admitted to smoking cannabis and joints. Well, it would be nice to understand what she means by a big chunk.
And, you know, which...
You smoked as a student, I know you from it. Have you had it since? Have you smoked it or eaten it since then?
No, I mean, certainly not in any kind of recent sense, but, you know, I did at university.
Certainly not in a kind of recent sense. So, last night, 2 weeks ago, 3 years ago, 20 years ago. Answer the question. Just say you have a joint from time to time. Jesus.
And do you know what?
But nothing since then. You're not a regular user, or you don't enjoy it.
I mean, I did at the time. You know, I'm not gonna be one of these people that says, you know, I tried it once and I didn't, you know, and I didn't.
Well, you just said it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it wasn't unusual. It wasn't something that was, you know, only a tiny number of people, and all of the evidence shows lots of people do it. And we should...
Where is the evidence? This is a lie.
Enable them to do it more safely if they're going to.
How can you smoke a joint safely or dangerously?
Can be regulated where people can understand the strength.
All right, so we're going to have chemists and they're going to ask you, are you a regular smoker? Okay, here's the strongest joint imported directly from Amsterdam. Is this your first time? Take this light ale joint.
Where police resources can be diverted to dealing with, you know, serious drug dealers and, you know, those involved in the organised crime.
As far as I know, somebody who sells you 20 pounds of hash is a serious criminal. And interesting is she doesn't really explain on the kind of regulations. Is it going to be like the shops in Holland, or is it going to be regulated where people have a license to sell hash like they do to sell alcohol?
You've heard this evening that Prince Andrew is stepping down from royal duties. Following the interview you gave to Newsnight at the weekend, you were quite forthright in your views about that. Does that...
Why is the interviewer asking her about something that's not connected with politics? The royal family, Prince Andrew, what has that got to do with anything? But let's listen.
Strike you as the right position?
I think it's very welcome to see. It's important that these issues are taken seriously.
Which issues? He hasn't been accused of anything yet.
And the people that matter the most, that should be at the centre of all of our thoughts in the Epstein case.
Yes, the Epstein case, not the Andrew case.
Are the girls and young women who were victims of sexual abuse, of trafficking. And I think that that's why that interview was so important, and why what Prince Andrew is...
He denied it. He denied any involvement with the woman that came forward.
Innocent until proven guilty, but I guess the Lib Dems don't see it that way.
Should he still have to retire from public duties because of the perception?
I think it is a decision that he has taken. He has understood.
She hasn't asked you what he has done, she's asking you what you think he should have done. Go on, skew the question.
I think what could only be described as deep unease within the country.
Don't speak for me when you talk about the country. Speak for yourself.
About how he spoke about these issues.
Oh, here we are. How we speak about something. Let's listen. There's going to be some bad words here that you shouldn't have said.
That interview, you know, the use of words like unbecoming.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
You know, this is not unbecoming. You know, it's behaviour which is criminal.
Not Prince Andrew's behaviour. That was Epstein.
Behaviour, you know, appalling crimes, and I think that cannot be dismissed.
No, they shouldn't be dismissed concerning the person who did them.
That kind of way, and I think that it's a very welcome step, the statement that he's made tonight.
Jo Swinson, thank you.
Thank you.